Hey there, One Stop Co-op Shop viewers. This is Mike, and today I'm looking at Siege Storm, which is a 1v1 dueling game with cards. But we're looking at the Siege mode that is cooperative or solo play accessible. Now, this is a game designed by Awaken Realms, but it's being distributed in the US by Van Ryder Games. And that last fact makes my usual disclaimer a little bit more complicated, so not only were we given this as a review copy, but also Van Ryder Games published the first game Peter and I designed and released, Salvation Road. Now, as always, I'm going to give this game unbiased coverage, so watch my review and see what I thought of it, or just watch this playthrough. But I did want to make sure that those facts were clearly laid out so you can make your own opinions on things. So as I mentioned, in the Siege mode, you can either play solo or two-player against the AI. You can't go above two. And you pick a deck. Two come in this small base box, which is available from Cool Stuff Inc. and Miniature Market, but not on Amazon. And you also get one boss, so it's got a little bit of variety there. And then I think there are two other hero packs you can buy separately, an angel and kind of a demon one. So you can get up to 4 hero packs and one boss right now. I believe Awaken Realms is releasing some extra bosses as PDFs, but as of this recording, I have not been able to find them, so I don't think they're done yet. Setup for the game is pretty straightforward. You just pick your hero, and they do have the 34 card deck, so you have to have 34 cards. They have a starter deck for each hero marked with a green icon, and then they have some additional white icon cards that let you do a little bit of deck constructing. So I've built a 34 card deck that has my favorite cards from Ursa, who's kind of like this damage and destruction focused poison lizard deck. So I have my cards, I shuffle them, I'm ready to go. The only extra part of setup is I get to draw 2 cards to start, and to kind of show you the details of an average card, every card in the game is a unit, at least for you. So you've got their cost up here, you've got their action here. Now you can either play them as like a little event and they immediately get discarded by paying their cost and you can immediately do their action, or as you'll see in a moment, you can deploy them onto the little advancement war track here, and when they get to the end of the track, they can also do their action and attack or do some other things. Additionally, each unit has a passive ability that's always in effect while they're on the war track, and then it also can stay in effect depending on where you put them. And then we've got an attack and a defense value, pretty standard stuff for this kind of game. Now, I get the chance to mulligan. I got nothing that's too inexpensive, so I'm actually going to mulligan both of these. They go to the bottom of my deck, I get 2 replacement cards, and I'm stuck with these. Ah, geez, 2, 3 cost guys. Well, we'll see what we draw in a moment. As for setup of the boss, you'll see that you have 3 different difficulty levels. So I'm going to play the hard mode of the boss because I find medium a little too easy. Then you also have a very hard one. And on the back, they have their setup instructions. This is based on whether you're playing solo or with 2 players. So first you've got where their menace level starts. And if you look over here at their board, it goes from 1 to 5. So here on hard with 1 player, it's starting at 3. Then you've got how many basic and advanced cards their deck is made of, so 15 of each. So basically, you can see the card backs are different. You've got these basic and advanced cards. You just shuffle them all together. And in this core release, you just have 2 sets. So you're always going to be fighting evil goblins and spectral shamans. But I guess if they do expand this more, then you could like switch out things. So you can switch out the boss, and you can also switch out which little decks make up the boss. And then finally, to finish setup, I set the boss's life at whatever their max is here, so 30. Put the boss's card with his abilities on this little boss card spot. And once I've shuffled his deck, I'm ready to go. Now, the boss always takes the first turn in Siege Storm. Here's how it works. You draw a number of cards equal to the boss's draw value, which is 4 on the hard mode. And they, like my cards, have... Oh, this is a great draw. They, like my cards, have little costs up here in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm comparing these to the boss's current menace value. He can only play cards that have a equal or lower value than his current menace value. So you can only play 3 or less. And you'll see that each of the cards has a text here. So you have deploy, special, and leader, and then there's also action, which I don't have any of. And these resolve in a specific order. It's kind of reminded here. First, you deploy the most expensive card. So if I had multiple deploys, I would always do the most expensive one first. And deploying, we'll show you here, it just goes right here next to their front line. There's like a little 3-space track. And they're going to move 1 each turn, and once they go beyond the front line, they will attack me. Next would be leader, so like this death token could go on either this little frontline space right on the board or in the no man's land, and they basically hang around and have persistent effects. But in this case, their cost is 4, so that's not going to happen because his menace level is only 3. And then specials and actions would resolve after that. So these 3 cards couldn't be played because of their cost. They're going to go over here, staying in the boss's hand. You'll see what happens to them in a moment. And sorry, I did kind of skim through the boss's turn. So first you would discard the reserves. That's basically cards that are left over from last turn. You're going to go to the boss's reserve. Then you advance the war track. So next turn this guy will move up 1. Then you draw the 4 cards and resolve the actions. And then if you get an extra turn, you do that. Although I don't think any of the cards in here give the boss an extra turn. Okay, that was the boss's turn. Very quick. Now mine. So first I would prepare if I had any exhausted guys that were generating resources for me. I would unexhaust them. Then I draw 2 cards. Now, your deck is your life in this. The boss has their own life track, but for me, my deck is my life. So as I draw 2 cards, I'm getting closer to defeat. And whenever the boss hits me with somebody or deals damage to me, I also discard cards from the top. And if I have to draw cards, my deck is out, I lose. And similarly, the boss is playing his 4 cards every turn. And if I can defeat him by taking away all 30 of his life, or survive until he's gone through his entire deck, and not just his deck, but as you saw, he had some cards left over in his hand. They're going to go in his reserve. So once he goes through his whole deck once, he's going to reshuffle all those reserve cards and go through his deck a second time. So if I survive all of that, the initial go through of his deck plus him going through his reserves a second time, then I win the game. All right, so I'm drawing 2 more cards just to show you what I've got. Super expensive. Sorsa, Mistress of Deceit. Nice snaky S there. So her action is she activates all the actions on all cards in my war track. So she'll just do like a ton of extra actions if she makes it up, but she's clearly too expensive. Her passive could make it tougher for the boss to play his action cards, and she's got pretty good stats. And then, I've got a great one. This is a reclusive web spinner. Only costs 0, and he can kill an enemy as an action if they cost 1 or less, which that one goblin on the track does right now. And while he's out there, all enemies have -1 attack. I've got 3 of these Reptime Blade Masters costing 3, 2 attack, 3 defense. Their action is if there are 3 enemies, so that means the entire track is full, because only the guys next to the track are enemies, not the ones on the board itself. Then he deals 5 damage to the boss, but he's also got Shapeshift. This is one of the key abilities of this faction. So for 1 cost, and costs in this game are paid by discarding other cards in your hand, so like if I wanted to play this 3 cost guy, I would have to discard these other 3 cards to pay for him. So with this guy, when he's on the war track, I can pay 1 and change him into anybody else. So I can put this guy on the track and then for 1 card, change him into Sorsa before he actually attacks. So they have a lot of fun like little combos like that. So on my turn, I can basically play as many cards as I want, as much as I can pay for, but I can only deploy 1 person to my side of the front line because then that space is filled. So I can't play like a bunch of enemies all at once. So the question is, I could play the Reptime Blade Master and get him out there for later, and it would be setting up the Shapeshift to potentially turn him into something huge. I could play the Reclusive Web Spinner onto the board, and when he got up there, he would kill one of the enemy's guys for me. Or I could just save him or use him right now and kill that Goblin Tank immediately. In this case, I'm going to take a chance that I'll get something else to deal with the Goblin Tank, and I'm going to go and play the Web Spinner onto my front line, so I'm deploying him. And that's it. Pretty quick turns for me as well. Let's get back to the boss. So first things first, he discards his entire hand to his reserves, but again, all these cards are going to come back for 1 more go once we go through the rest of his deck. Then he advances his war track, so this guy goes to no man's land. Remember, he's going to go to my front line, and then if he goes through there, he's going to deal his damage and try to hurt me. Now, he has no damage, but every time for this specific boss, if somebody does get to the end, they raise the menace level as well, which will make nastier cards hit me. Okay, once again, we get 4 cards, and we're going to resolve 3 of them. We can't afford that one, so they'll go into the reserve next turn. Okay, so remember, first we try to deploy. So there's 2 guys that are equal. If one was higher cost, we deploy him, but in this case, we can choose. And then we can't deploy this guy. So you'll see he has a special gang ability, but first we do leaders. We don't have any leaders. Then we do specials. So if he can't deploy, he uses his gang ability. What this does is he discards himself, and he puts a gang token on every enemy that's on the war track. And these tokens are going to boost their attack by 1. So now suddenly this guy with 0 attack is 1 attack. And then finally we have a Seal of Nova. This is an action, and we can play because it's equal or less to the menace level. So first of all, it has a special, which is Spirit. That means that if the boss had these totems, this is one of his special things of the deck, then he would get to put tokens on them, and they would do special effects, and they just build up and build up and build up. But in this case, he doesn't have any, so that doesn't do anything. But then he does the action, deal 2 damage to each player for each of their supporters. A supporter is if my guy, for example, makes it all the way to the end of the track, I can either attack with him, put him on no man's land or the front line to have his passive ability stay active for the rest of the game. or at least until he's destroyed. Or I can make him a supporter, which becomes a little 1 resource generator that I can spend every turn. Again, that's if he makes it all the way past the front line of the enemy. But here I don't have any of those yet, so this card is wasted. That's good for me. All right, back to me. First, I draw 2. I'm gonna get some inexpensive people. So Gutter Crawler is a really weak little 1 attack guy, but he does attack 4 times. Then Reptile Rider, his action is to make both players discard all their cards. So if the enemy had some really nice cards waiting around, I could get rid of all of them. Then he also has the shapeshift power. But before I do any of that, my spider does advance to No Man's Land. I think I'll put the Gutter Crawler up. He's pretty weak, but he's free. I'm saving my resources. And if he gets to the end of the track, then he can become a supporter and give me resources every turn. All right, back to the boss. The 1 card he couldn't play goes into his reserves. His war track advances. Here comes his guys. And we draw 4 cards. All right, let's see. So first we're going to deploy a Goblin Archer with 2 attack, no defense. Got 2 things we can't play, so all right. And by the way, you'll notice that their costs are higher than 5, but the last space of the menace track is 5 or more, so then they can play these as well. Okay, then finally we get a leader. This happens after deploy. We can put them on either the enemy's front line or the No Man's Land. We fight over the No Man's Land, so if I put somebody there, then he couldn't. And this is one of those totems I talked about. So whenever one of those cards with the spirit keyword comes out, like our Seal of Nova earlier, you'll put 1 token on this and then activate its effect. So here it says for each token, the boss recovers 1, heals 1 damage, basically. So I'm going to put that on his front line, leave the No Man Land hopefully open for me. And that's it. I got a lot of angry coming at me in a moment. That's okay, because I got a lot of resources too. Let's see what I draw. Underworld Vindicator, so we can deal some damage, and another Shapeshifter. And Grand Overlord Aiki. I can put a card from my hand straight to the front line to get its passive ability. And then whenever the opponent takes damage, he suffers 1 additional damage. But first again, my spider and my rat advance. Next turn they'll go to over there. Now, quick note about abilities like this that deal damage. You might think I could use that to blow up one of the guys on the track. But actually, in this game, dealing damage only applies to damaging the boss. Effects that can destroy these people will say kill or those kind of things. So in this case, I think I'm going to play the Underworld Vindicator and just keep on going with my cheap thing. I almost have enough for Sorsa, and also he can shapeshift into her if I want him to. Now, just to explain how the enemy attack will work, again, he's going to increase the menace level, so it's not great that he's getting through in any case. What will happen is he'll subtract my current guy on the front line's defense. So this guy's also defending for me from his attack, so he's got 1 because of the gang token. -1, he'll do 0 damage, so he won't hurt. He would first try to hurt cards here if he can destroy them, and then he would try to make me discard cards from my deck, but he's going to fail in that. The only negative, again, is that he is going to increase the menace level, and now the boss will be able to play level 4 cards. But in any case, I am done. So the boss first puts these 2 huge cards in his reserve for later. Now the war track advances, so Goblin Tank tries to hurt me for 1, the Underworld Vindicator stops him, but his menace level does increase to 4, and that's effective immediately, so he might play some really nasty things. And this guy is discarded. The discarded cards are never coming back, just the reserve gets shuffled back in. And the Goblin Killer and Archer come down. Now we do 4 cards, and I might get some really nasty stuff. Oh man, they can all be played. Okay, so for each action, I'm looking for the most expensive person. So I've got 3 people with the deploy keyword, but the Shaman Berserker is the worst. So he's going to go up on the deploy spot, the others won't. And he does have the spirit keyword, so he'll activate the restoration token this turn. Or sorry, totem, not token. But that'll happen when the special actions happen. Next I look for leader. I don't have any of those. Okay, so now I do special actions in whatever order I want. So in this case, he's going to add 1 of the restoration token, and that'll recover the boss 1 hit point, but he hasn't lost any. Then both of these guys also do specials. This is terrible. They're going to do +1 damage tokens on every guy in the line. So that's this guy's got +3 attack, +2, and +2. Pretty nasty. And finally, we got another Seal of Nova. It adds another token to the totem, and it tries to heal, but it can't. And then it again would deal damage if I had supporters, but I don't. Ooh, I just remembered that actually all enemies have -1 attack while the spider is on the board. So I guess the guy last time wouldn't have hurt me anyway, even without the defense. Pretty nasty turn, a lot of bad coming my way. Hopefully some of these cards will help me out. Okay, so this one could kill someone. He has, I would play 2 to do his action if I want to use it immediately. So it's a sacrifice 1 to kill 1. So if I kill one of the guys on the track, then I can destroy one of the guys over here. But first, let's advance my war track. So the spider does come off. So again, here are my options. I can either put the spider on the front line of the No Man's Land. That would tie it up so that they couldn't get to the No Man's Land. And the passive ability would stay as a permanent thing while the spider's there. So all enemies would be -1 attack for the foreseeable future. Alternatively, I can put him as a supporter and give myself resources. Or my final option, I can have him attack, first he deals his damage, and it's subtracted. You subtract the defense of their person on the front line, just like when they attack you. If any damage was left over, I could either apply it to the boss, or if I exceed the defense of one of the cards they have in the middle, I could destroy them. And then I also get to do their action when they get to the end. So you do their action if you play the card from your hand. You also do their action if they attack when they get all the way to the end. It's called storming. I think the choice here is pretty clear. I'm going to have him attack for no damage, but kill this enemy before he gets to hit me and raise the menace level again. And I guess I'll hang on to the false prophet to potentially kill somebody next turn. All right, so I got a bunch of cards. Let's actually play one of them. Let's get this Reptile Blade Master down, and he can shapeshift or deal some damage. So I don't need 3 of them. And then let's get rid of the Reptile Rider as well. We seem to have averted disaster for the moment, but here comes the War Track. More guys threatening us. We are getting 4 more cards. All right, so let's see. So we have only 1 deploy, so he's going to go down there. Then we have a bunch of leaders. So first we do the most expensive one. This is a nasty one. Every time this one gets activated by one of those special effects, it deals damage equal to the number of tokens. So let's say it gets activated twice. It would get a token, deal 1 damage. Next time it would get a token, deal 2 damage. These ones have killed me before. They'll sometimes get like 4 or 5 damage going a turn. So he goes on the empty spot. And then I have 2 more leaders. We check, do they exceed the cost of anything on the track? If they do, they would replace it. But in this case, no, neither of them does. So they go to the enemy's hand, and they'll go in the reserve later to potentially be played again. All right, so nothing too terrible, but not too great either. Before my rats jump up, let's see if we get anything. Oh, this one's great. This one is awesome. Action, return all enemies to their owner's hand. So I can wipe this entire board with all their bonus tokens for 4 money. This one's also fun. Your next shapeshift this turn costs 0, so I could take someone like my Underworld Vindicator that usually costs 3 to shapeshift and turn him into somebody huge for 0 cost, except for using this person's action. But first, my little gutter crawler is going to move up. Now, his passive does not help me, so there's no reason to put him on the front lines, and his damage is only 1, so he can't even get past the goblin tank. He does attack 4 times, but each one is compared against their defense separately, so it doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to make him a supporter and not have to discard 1 card. I can kind of tap him to get 1 resource each turn. The rest of these people move up. So again, clearly I'm going to play the Reptile Taskmaster for his action to return all enemies to their hand. So that would cost 4 normally, but I'll make it 3. And, man, I'd like to shapeshift her. And although, honestly, I guess she's not that great. So I think I'll just keep the 0 cost guy. So all 3 of these cards go into the enemy's hand with the other cards, and they're all going to go into the reserve to say hi again later. But for now, I've averted a huge crisis of them attacking and increasing the menace level. The reserve is getting pretty fat now. Nothing to advance on the war tracks. We're just going to draw 4 cards. All right, let's see. Oh, so we can deploy the Spiritual Shaman. He's pretty expensive, but there he goes. Can't deploy the Totemic Golem. Now, we can't deploy the Goblin Knight because there's no space for him, or the Totemic Golem, so he's going to go to the hand. The Goblin Knight will do his special and add a gang token to the Shaman. And then, Seal of Haste. So this is going to make everyone advance 1 immediately, so that guy's going to be closer to attacking me. And then it's going to activate the Spirit effect. So the Restoration Totem's not really doing much of anything. But the Destruction Totem does deal 1 damage to me, so there goes the top card of my deck. Remember, if I'm decked, I lose. This deck's getting fairly thin, so I'm doing pretty well so far. That big thing of pushing back all his enemies certainly helped. Oh, crud, I didn't play a guy last turn. I should have deployed him. Well, too late now. All right, so I do untap my resource generator there, and I get 2 cards. Well, this is a pretty good one usually to kill an enemy with 1 cost, but not strong enough for the Shaman. So the Saboteur is great. For 4 resources, I can kill all the creatures on the front lines of the No Man's Land, so I can take out both of his totems, which would be awesome. And here's the thing, using passive abilities, playing cards for their action, I can do that at any time in my turn. So even before this guy advances, if I wanted to, I could play the Brainwash Trader's action to let him shapeshift for free, and then turn him into a Saboteur. He would advance and blow up these guys immediately. So I guess the question is, do I feel the need to do that now, or do I rather get that guy to be a resource generator for me? Because I can also shapeshift that guy next turn. See, I don't think I feel the need to do it now, although I'm really worried about the Destruction Totem just messing me up. But there are also more in the deck. Yeah, so for now, I'm going to hold off. I'll let this guy become another resource generator for me, so now I've got 2 resources every turn. Although sadly, I don't have anything to use them with right now. So I guess I'll put the spider down and see if she can help me out later. And yeah, hopefully that'll work out for us. We'll see. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should put the Saboteur down on the track instead. I have enough resources, but that would use up my whole hand. That seems silly. All right, going to the enemy. They're almost to the reserve decks. We're going to see all these nasty cards again. This guy is only 1 away from attacking me. Hi. And oh yeah, look, they only got 4 cards, 1 card left in the deck there. We got deploy. Oh, man. Discard 2 cards. I should have played the guy. Okay, so this guy's going to deploy. He cannot, so he's going to do his special gang action. Make the shaman 4 attack and the goblin knight 2. And then, yeah, I have to discard 2 cards in my hand. This is terrible. And also, each of these is going to do a spirit action. So that means the restoration token would heal him a lot, but clearly not. But the destruction token will do 2 damage, and then again for 3 damage. There's 5 cards from my deck. And oh man, this is so bad. If this guy gets through, he's going to take all seal cards from my casualties and shuffle them into my resources. So like that discard, and if they can advance people faster and makes all these things attack me, those are going to come back into the deck. I might have messed up majorly. Alright, so let's get 2 cards. I wish I had the priest who could just kill somebody. But now look here, I got another shapeshifter, and yeah, none of this is going to help. Now this guy does advance. Yeah, he can't really do much of anything. So I guess I'll just make him one of those as well. And this guy comes up. Yeah, I'm definitely in a bad way now. I am going to use 2 resources to get this guy on the board. Mainly for his 3 defense to stop the shaman from hurting me too much. But he said place any card from your hand on your front line when he gets up to the front. So I could get something there. Oh man, this is crushing. Alright, here's where you probably watch Mike die. So nothing goes to the reserves. This guy advances. So first he tries to do 4 damage, but the spider's giving him -1, and this guy blocks 3, so I don't take any damage from him. Then he again adds all these seal cards back into the reserves, which means they're all about to come up and make all those things do a ton of damage to me. Oh man, and now I have supporters for those seals of Nova. I thought I was safe from them. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to die in like 10 seconds here, unfortunately. Alright, now I draw 4. We know what they pretty much are. Yes. Okay. So Seal of Haste moves the guy up. Seal of Madness discards my only card. And then 1 Seal of Nova. I have 3 supporters, so that's 6 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, no way. This is going to go 4 damage, then 5 damage, then 6 damage, then 7 damage. I don't even survive 2 of those hits. So there you go. 1 bad decision, not taking out that destruction totem when I had the chance of getting my whole hand discarded. Definitely cost me the game there. Although honestly, not being able to get that guy would have been pretty devastating anyway. And Menace level would have been at 5, so would have had all these super fun, giant actions and enemies to look forward to. So, it looks like my number was up in any case, but it is unfortunate that I died so terribly all in one turn. Alright, check out my review, see what I think of the game. And again, this is available on Cool Stuff and Miniature Market, but not on more regular outlets like Amazon. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.